Hello everyone, Theodore Burns here. This is week 8 of my IndyPro2000 lap walkthrough series. This weekend we are at Legacy Silverstone Circuit via circa about 2008 on the Grand Prix course. This week I was able to do a 141.618 with a baseline plus setup using the same conditions. So this is March 1st in the morning, 69 air, 71 track, and 25%, so a low usage session. This is about, I think, 21, 22 C, minimal wind as well. So some notes on the setup. I thought it was pretty decent this week. It was a little bit inconsistent and had a tendency to over-rotate from the iRacing baseline, so I tried to really calm down the rear end, but I think it still rotates well enough, especially in the high speed, and I think I calmed it down just enough in the low speed. I think if you tend to overdrive it a little bit, it may still feel very oversteery. So if you are feeling that, I would look more at your driving rather than the setup first of all. But then second, you can maybe modify the aero balance a little bit. Maybe lower the rear a little bit if it's still tending to over rotate just a bit too much. But otherwise, I think it was pretty good. One other note, iRacing had it at maximum downforce. I kept it at that for, I think, kind of like a safe setup almost, but I would say that I think you may be a little bit slow on some of the straights. I think to be ideal for race setup, you may want to try trimming it out a little bit. It's going to be a little bit harder to drive. Some of the reference points are going to be a little bit different, maybe slightly slower over a single lap, but I think it may need to be trimmed out to race a little bit better, get a little bit more straight line speed, because I think running max downforce like this, you may be a little bit of a sitting duck in a straight line, or not able to pull alongside to actually overtake someone else, especially if they are running a little bit less downforce. But I think over a single lap, I think this is the way to go. We're able to get plenty of pace out of it. I was running low 42s at the 50% usage when I built the session, and was able to run a couple extra laps and squeeze out quite a bit of pace out of it. So I'm pretty happy with this 41.6. So without further ado, yeah, actually I have the split times there from that session. So optimal is about a tenth off, but or half a tenth off. Not too bad. So without further ado, let's see this hot lap. All right, so there we have it. Let's take a look a little bit closer at each of the corners. So starting off, Old Silverstone, turn 1, Copse. We're going to be coming in with this downforce package right at the top of 5th, so we're only going to go down 1 gear. And as we're coming into the corner, I need just a dab of the brake, and then it's right out to get the car turned in. And I time that right with my turn-in. So you see right here, I turn the wheel in as soon as I get that little hit on the brakes. You don't have to slow the car down too much, but I need this weight on the nose to get the car to turn in to the corner. So once I get down here to the apex, you can see I can get back in throttle very aggressively. And I'm wanting to apex, get the right side tires all the way up onto the curb so it helps to rotate the car. I could even get them a little bit into the grass without picking up a 1X or costing myself too much time. But then it's right back into throttle and just managing it on exit. I believe you have to keep the right side tires on the red and white curbing here to avoid a 1X, but there's plenty of runoff if you need it. But try not to do that. Don't want to rack up too many incident points throughout the race. And then it's flat back out. So with that, we'll watch it one more time in real speed from the chase camera. All right, so this next sequence of corners, we're going to do these all as one. So this is corners 2 through 6, Maggotts, Becketts, and Chapel. So these are twisting S-bends, gradually getting tighter, so we have to slow down as we go through them. So it's very important not to push too deep through any of these, and basically want to keep backing them up so we can get a big run out of Chapel and down Hanger Straight, because it is a bit of an overtaking opportunity. You can definitely get a draft. So we're really focusing on our exit out of Chapel onto Hanger Straight. So with that, we have to back everything up. So that starts all the way back to turn 2, 3, Maggotts. So I'll take it flat out through the left-hander here, getting on the curb, and basically I'm setting up the trajectory to try and straight line this as much as possible. So my eyes, as I'm turning into this, I want to get onto this corner, but my eyes are staring at this apex here. So basically I only go far enough over that I can immediately start to bend back to the right. And you see that right as I get to this point, I start to transition back to the right. And as I do that, I start to just lift out of the throttle. I get all the way out, and something you'll see me doing quite a bit in this section is just these little dabs of brake. So this is not in any way to slow the car. This is to turn the car, and this is getting weight on the nose and really turning it into the corners, especially this right-hander here. And you'll see me just kind of like dabbing it there because I never even come completely out of the throttle because I want to carry as much speed through this as possible. But I can't be full throttle through this, otherwise I'm just going to plow the front end. Gonna just scrape the front tires across the ground. So I'm down about 75% maximum as I come and cut as much of this corner as possible. And as you can see, you can get all the way up. I think you got to keep again the left side tires on the red and white curbing before you pick up a 1X. So this is a clean lap. I think this is an entirely clean session. I don't think I had any off tracks throughout this entire session. So all this is fair game through here. Now I am going to kind of bend it back a little bit to the right as I come off of that, trying to find my next apex up here to the left. So I'm not getting quite a full squirt of throttle in between. As you can see, I never quite get up to full. And now as I start to bend into the left-hander, I still can't quite find this apex, but I need to anticipate it. Again, this is backing up this whole section, not going in too deep. Trying to set this up for the best run out of this as possible. So as soon as I bail out of it and start coming in, I'm going to drag that little bit of brake again to get the car turned in. And I don't need to slow too much. I'm just going to be coasting through most of the section, and using the scrubbing of the tires through the corner itself to slow the car down. And any brake that you see me dragging is purely just to put this weight on the nose of the car and get it to turn in. Getting all of this curb again, all the way up onto the little, kind of thatched part on the grass that's paved, driving right over that. And I'm even getting a little bit back in throttle as I hit this apex. I want to make sure that I'm completely on the apex. I'm just going to give it a little burst to kind of increase my minimum speed into this transition. But you see, as soon as I do that, now as I turn back to the right, because I have a lot of forward speed still. So this is going to carry me quite wide. It almost looks like I'm turning a bit early for this corner, but I have so much forward speed that it's going to really scrub and be hard to get down all the way to that apex. And so here's where I'm actually going to use the brake to slow down a bit. But even then, I'm still only using about 10% brake to get all the way down into the apex. And so this one's really important to get the right side tires on this red and white curb. You don't want to go too far over because there's a little bit of like a dip right here. And if you're right on the red and white curbing, this really helps to rotate the car. It just pulls it right around, and then you can get right in power as soon as you get into this dip. So you see me start to ease into it. I don't get full quite quite when I tip in. So it's a pretty aggressive tip into 75%, but then I have to wait a little bit to get to full until I actually start coming out of the corner, because I want to make sure that the car's rotated, because last thing I want to do is get in throttle too soon, too aggressively, and just push wide here, because then I'm going to need a huge lift to try and get it back to the right. And I'm just scrubbing speed off the front tires and losing speed down the straight. But as I get into full throttle, I can let the car track out, and I use all of the track here up on the curb and through Chapel, get this nice left hand. The left hand is very easy. Don't scrub any speed, keep it full out, and on to Hanger straight. So let's watch that through one more time in real speed so you can really see how much we have to back this whole section up and the kind of the speed and track usage through here. It's almost like it just goes down a tone each corner as you go through that section. All right, coming up, end of Hanger straight. Next corner, right-hander, turn 7. This is Stowe. So coming into here, there's with a lot of these old tracks, there's never any good brake markers for these corners. I wouldn't even consider using the right-hand board here as a marker just because it is so early for the corner, and you can drive in here so deep. I never quite found a really good brake reference. I was kind of using that and almost like counting down past it, staring towards the apex, and kind of being able to judge its distance, which I can do, in VR being 3D. But I guess if we really need a reference, maybe we can use this Marshall post over here. Back it up so it's outside the mirror, but this the end of the guardrail on the inside, just something that you can catch in your peripheral is kind of like a general reference for when to brake for this corner, because there really is nothing good. So again, I was kind of using like a cadence, like a count of however many car lengths past here, because it's not even like it's a couple of car lengths. I'm driving almost a quarter second past this board here. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't really have a great braking reference for anyone. But coming into here, it is a pretty aggressive brake. But I get out as I turn into the corner because I want to kind of roll the speed in, but I want to make sure that I get to the minimum and I can get the nose turned in, because it is very flat corner, so it's very easy to go push this a little bit wide. So I want to make sure that I'm down in tight. This is where all the grip is down here. I want to get all the way down to this apex curb. And once I get there, I can start to ease into the throttle. And again, it's about 75%, and then ease into full as I come off of the corner and know that I have the car rotated. Unlike modern Silverstone, there's no paved runoff over here, so you will hit the grass. So nice track limits there, but use as much of the track as possible and come on out. So I guess through there, I'm going down to third gear. From I think 6 down the straight, so a couple of gears down. Just patience getting back to throttle through there is the real key. All right, now coming up to turns, we're going to do this next section. This is 8, 9, 10, also known as club. So coming into this, again, no brake markers out here. So what I'm going to use here is these orange cones and kind of this access road over here to my left, and I'm going to start braking a bit prior to the car actually getting to those. So it's almost just after this white line. So it's kind of I'm using kind of this halfway between the white line and this orange cone as my brake reference. It's a very aggressive brake zone. Use all super heavy on the brakes. We're very straight, maximizing our turn in from the right hand side of the track. This is going to be one where I want to really modulate that brake release to get the rotation on the way into the corner. And you can see I actually carry a little bit too much trail brake in and over rotate just a bit. But we can eat up this curb here, and you really want to get kind of like a light apex. It's a very straightforward kind of 90-degree corner, but you can really just ride the center of the car right over the grass there, and I want to do that so I can really set up this right-hander because turn 9 it comes up really quickly here, and I want to roll as much speed through this as possible, but not push too wide as I go through club. So all the way down to second gear. As I come out of that, I want to transition my hands quickly. So I'm getting back in throttle, not quite to full throttle. So I'm just sitting here at about 50% as I go through the transition. I give just a little blast, but then I'm right back out as I turn into the right-hand corner here, because I don't want to be in full throttle as I drive across the right-hander here, because it's just going to throw me a little bit too wide. I want to try and stay in tight as possible here, and it's kind of like a balance of I want to be in throttle to pick up my minimum speed, but I want to be out of the throttle to decrease my corner radius through this. So as you can see, I bail out of the throttle as my hands transition. So it's this little bit to increase my minimum speed. Then as soon as I turn in, bail out of the throttle to get all the way up here onto the right-hand curb. I never come completely out of it though. I'm always staying about 40-50% as I get the right sides up onto the curbing here. Still in second gear, and at this point I'm going to start easing the throttle in, and I can't quite get to full throttle here because it is a little bit off camber, very flat here, and I'm trying to keep it relatively tight. You can see I'm about mid-track. There's kind of like a darker line through here, and that's what I'm trying to stay on. I don't want to get out here because I'm just going to be increasing my track distance, and that's just costing us time. But I'm about 75%. You can see I'm fighting the rear end just a little bit, so it's all about how you come off that curb, trying to keep the hands nice and smooth. And then it's into full throttle and still just kind of managing, letting it kind of self-rotate through the corner. I don't need to worry about hitting an apex at turn 10 here. I'm just managing the speed on the way out, trying not to scrub any speed off. I can get all the way out here, use as much of the track as possible on the exit of club and down straight. So with that, watch out one more time in real speed from the chase camera for car placement. Alright, and now into the classic portion of Silverstone where we take a left instead of the right on the modern Grand Prix circuit. So with that, this next corner is we'll go through turn 11, 12, which is Abbey, is our next section. So braking for this corner, again, no good reference. There's this access road that comes off from the right-hand side of the track, and then there's kind of this like patch right here. Off to the right. I don't quite know what this is, if that was an old corner station sitting there, something this dirt, but basically I'm using this as my reference point and braking just at, if not like half a car length past this point as soon as I pass it. It's going to be another very heavy brake zone. Coming down into second gear, but I want to bail out of the brakes pretty quickly. I'm not going to carry a whole lot of trail brake into here because I want to try and roll as much speed through this corner as possible. And so basically I'm getting it slowed down early, and then I'm going to accelerate across it. So you can use quite a bit of these curbs if before you actually pick up a 1X, but if you use too much of it, it kind of like grabs the car and throws it off the curb sideways. And that goes for the left and the right here. So I want to get up onto it. I'm basically getting the left side tires onto this like little extension here and keeping the center of the car kind of right on where the edge of this grass is and fully on the red and white curbing. I'm going to accelerate across this curb. and straighten my hands up quickly, and then get into full throttle as soon as I get the hands straight to accelerate through. Because now turn 12 to the right here, I can take this flat out very easily. So I'm basically just using that to get the trajectory. Once I get it settled off that curb, then it's back into full throttle and accelerate completely across this curb. This is one where you don't want to get too far onto there. You can see, this didn't cost me any time there, but even just that much onto the curb did catch the car, and I had to give a little counter steer there on the way out. So that didn't hurt my run out of the corner, but it is something to consider. If you cut this too much, it will just grab the car like that. It's very hard to get a 1x there. You have to go quite significantly over the curb to actually get that 1x, but it will grab the car, so we want to avoid using too much of those curbs. All right, bridge corner, turn 13, easily flat out. I'm looking for a late apex through here, getting all the way down right where the grass and the curbing is, keeping it flat, and I want to keep it in 4th gear coming out of here, and I'm going to end up about mid-track through bridge and keep it in 4th gear. I'll play through that yes, one more time just because easy enough, and then we'll move on to our last section of the track. Yep, so bridge, not super difficult in this car, not super high commitment like the old F1s. All right, so we'll do this final section of the track. This will be turns 14, 15, 16, Brooklands and Luffield, and then 17 is Woodcote is the final corner on the track. Not really, I wouldn't really consider that too much of a corner. It's basically just feeding onto the straight. But anyway, 14, 15, 16. So turn 14, like I said, I want to enter about mid-track coming out of bridge, and I'm going to stay in 4th gear. Every time I went up to 5th, I end up blowing turn 14. It cost me a couple tenths of a second. So I'm staying in 4th gear through here. Maybe it'll be a little different if you're following someone really high revs, but probably still keep it in 4th. It's kind of a blind entry. Can't quite find the apex until we're already, basically need to be on top of it. But it's going to be a pretty light brake, about 50% maximum coming into here, and just bending the car in, trying to get all the way onto this curb. I'm coming down to 3rd gear, so it's only down 1 gear when I do this, but it's very, very smooth hands and trying to consistently load the right-hand side of the car as I come into here, because we are still kind of rising in elevation to this point, and then it kind of levels off. So the car is a bit light, and we want to make sure that we get the right sides loaded to really carry as much speed through this as possible. Once I get onto the apex, I can start to get back in throttle. Can squeeze it a little bit full as long as I'm not running out of track here, and I want to get all the way out to the far right hand side of the track, kissing the right sides onto the red and white curbing here to set up for turn 15. So I'm going to get all the way out here, and then basically as soon as this curbing ends, I'm using this curbing and this kind of a cement patch right here, kind of this thatched grass, cement. I'm using between the red and white curbing and this cement patch as my brake marker. I don't want to get all the way up to this cement patch because then the rear end will come around on me, and I'll be a bit too overloaded on the front coming into 15. Coming into Brooklands, so I want to make sure that that I'm braking early, but not too early. So not on this red and white curbing, but about this halfway in between. You see, again, it's about a 50% brake. It's kind of a long brake zone, and you can see that if I use too much brake or stop too aggressively, you can see the car already starting to over-rotate. So I want to get all the way down and completely up onto this and right up to these sausage curbs. And if we get the center of the car right on the transition of the red and white and this kind of teal curbing, the left side tires kind of just skate over the top of these, and they don't actually pick up or jump the car through here. But it's important to get all the way up onto this curb because it just maximizes the speed in and out of Brooklands. So as I get onto the curb, I'm easing back into throttle again, not full until I can fully straighten my hands out. But even then, this entire section is just really, fighting the rear end of the car. So it's fighting the rear end on entry because we're coming in too loaded, and then fighting the rear end getting power down because we're still continuing all these corners. You can see I never quite am able to get into full power here, and I'm really fighting the rear end. So I need a massive amount of counter steer there. This is the one sector I end up losing a little bit, on my optimal. So it's about half a tenth off through this sector, and that's just in not being able to get the power down smoothly in these kind of transitions. So definitely you don't want to be too gingerly on the throttle, but if you get too aggressively and you're really fishtailing through here, it's going to cost you a lot of time. So really manage the rear grip through here. But I do want to get a full throttle squirt in here as I come into Luffield, turn 16, because this is such a long corner, and I don't want to be, what I want to try and do is kind of V this off. I don't want to be having a whole lot of maintenance throttle in here because the car setup doesn't like that. So I want to kind of carry as much speed in as possible, drag the brake, get to a point out there, car starts to turn back in, and really V this corner off. So that's what I'm doing here with this full throttle, kind of squirt, basically until I get, to this curbing here. I'm carrying the throttle in, and then I'm not immediately getting in brakes, and just a little bit to try and keep the car as tight to this curb as possible. Because while I'm Ving this off, I don't want to, completely slat out here, leave the door open for someone to dive underneath me. So I want to, be at most, half a car width off of the curbing here, but I'm using that brake to really slow the car down, kind of really V this off. And you can see I even need just a little bit of maintenance throttle there. The 50% start to pick it back up on my drive out. So I wait for the car to kind of get the sensation of turning back. So you can see right there it starts to turn back in towards the apex, but I want to keep my hands consistent. So now I'm just modulating the radius with my feet. So that's what I'm doing here with this 50% throttle, but also keeping in mind it's very easy to overpower and we'll slide the rear end out because we are still very loaded, lots of lateral G through here. So the tire just can't take any more throttle than that. And as the car comes back down, I can start to open my hands back up, and as I do that, I can start to feed in the throttle. And it's kind of like you feed in the throttle as the hands open up, but the car is still neutral steering this entire way out. So basically, from this kind of second apex there on the back end of the V, I'm still sliding the rear end. It's neutral steering all the way out, and I can use all of this curbing here, the red and white, without picking up any sort of 1X, and just kind of use that to modulate the radius out of the corner. It doesn't, coming up on this doesn't really affect your run out of the corner onto the straight. So I want to maximize my track usage here. Use that neutral steer all the way out, full throttle, and then just keep it straight through 17 wood coat all the way to the line. So with that, we'll play back through that last section one more time in real speed from the chase camera. All right, so with that, we have a 41.618 lap of Silverstone 2008. So unfortunately, I will not be able to race with you guys this week in the broadcast. I am traveling for work, so I will be gone all week. I'm going to try and get the week 9 video out as well, because I will be gone basically up until an entire week, basically until next Wednesday. So I'm going to try and do that in the next couple days here before I leave, so I get you guys prepped for week 9 at Indy. But with that, I will still be able to be reached on Discord, the forums, on YouTube. So if you have any questions on the setup, driving, anything on the track, hit me up, let me know. Happy to answer any questions, help everyone out, and get you up to speed this week. So yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, I will maybe see you on track.